Also joining me now, Ned Ryun is the CEO of the conservative grassroots group, American Majority. Hillary Rosen is here, CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist. And David Mowery, he's an Alabama political consultant who's worked for both Republicans and Democrats. Let's start with taxes, though, because that is also important. We're just going to go back and forth, just to keep you guys on your toes. Ned, try this one on for size for me. Here's a couple of the things you heard when this idea with regard to let's call it, previously it was considered kind of the skinny repeal over the summer. That's basically now a little bit of it is being added in to this healthcare, to this tax bill. Here's what we heard over the summer. Skinny repeal fell short because it fell short of our promise to repeal and replace Obamacare with meaningful reform. That's John McCain. The skinny bill as policy is a disaster. That's Lindsey Graham. Doesn't even come close to honoring our promise of repealing Obamacare. That's Ron Johnson. Why are we not hearing any of that this time around, now that it's part of a tax bill?
Kate, I never cease to be amazed that Republicans, if they were handed the football on the 20-yard line and the defense left the field, they'd still throw an interception. This is, again, I've said this repeatedly. I don't think you're actually going to see a tax bill before the end of the year. And I actually came out with an opinion piece at The Hill saying that what the Senate is proposing, even before I heard about this newest angle, I don't think it's really tax reform. I'm in the middle to upper middle class, and this would be a tax hike for me. And the Senate has also, one of the reasons they're having to look for extra money, Kate, they've given a really sweetheart deal to some real estate developers and shortening the depreciation lives from 39 years to 25 years.
Do you think that the individual mandate, adding that in is a bad idea?
I think strategically they're going to have to address it with another bill. They've already made enough mistakes in this bill, Kate, to make it almost where I'm not sure they can reconcile it with the House bill, pushing back the corporate tax a year. The other thing that's really irritating some of us, Kate, is this whole not closing of the carried interest loophole. So while some of us are getting a tax hike as the bill now stands, the private equity and hedge fund guys are still getting that carried interest loophole. So there's a lot of problems with the Senate tax bill as it now stands.
Hillary, you don't agree with the policy, of course, including when it comes to including this individual mandate repeal in a tax bill, of course. But when it comes to politics, do you think it's smart to at least try to ensure that Republicans stay on board and get it done?
No, if anything, I think it's like putting, an elephant on top of a mouse and asking him to carry it across the finish line. It's you
very strong mouse.
A very strong mouse, nonetheless. It doesn't matter. It's still an elephant. You've got 13 million people that the Congressional Budget Office estimated would be thrown off of the insurance rolls if you just did that so-called skinny repeal. So now you've got this narrative, which is the Republicans are going to jeopardize health care for 13 million low-income Americans in order to give corporate tax rate reduction, which is really kind of the only beneficiary in this bill, as Ned just pointed out. So I do think, forget about the bad policy. They've just brought a whole heap of bad arguments onto themselves.
David, let me bring you in on the other issue that Republicans are facing right now, a tough issue that Republicans are facing. What to do about Roy Moore? You just heard me speak with Stephen Law. He's the head of the super PAC that spent a lot of money on that primary between Luther Strange and Roy Moore. And he says there's a lot of options out there. We just need to figure out which is the right one. What is the impact of the options that are being discussed by Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, now even Jeff Sessions piling on and saying that he's basically lining up against Roy Moore? Is it starting to impact on the ground?
I don't really think so. Roy Moore isn't going to do, he's not going to do anything to get off the ballot. He's been thrown off 3 courts, the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court again, and the Gadsden Food Court. So, there's nothing that he's going to do to let himself be off the ballot. And they don't have a viable option. Right now, Sessions isn't a viable option, is he? Because he even said, I don't even really want to return to the Senate. But while you were talking to Stephen, I came up with a really good idea. There's a Republican out there that might do it and might be able to win, and everybody in Alabama knows how to spell his name. It's Charles Barkley.
There you go.
But here's the problem.
Is Charles Barkley a Republican?
I don't think
he
you
is.
can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It seems bizarre to me that everybody in Alabama, you know, in political circles knew about Roy Moore doing this. Roy Moore made a career out of judging the values and morals of other people. He made a career literally out of demonizing people who he said had low moral or Christian values. And yet at the same time, you know, he was known to law enforcement as somebody you couldn't trust walking around a shopping mall. So
Kate,
the fact that the Republicans find
I don't know
themselves
that
in this
anybody in Alabama
predicament now.
actually knew that.
Okay,
This is
you know
the
what?
thing that's amazing to me, Kate. Listen,
You
and
didn't
I
have to.
think
You
Roy
didn't
Moore
have
has
to do
a lot of inconsistencies.
Wait, let me finish.
Hold on,
These
Hillary, finish it
reporters
up.
did not have to do a lot of work to find these women. They didn't have to do a lot of stories. And reporters in Alabama are now telling us that their phone's ringing off the hook. So the fact that the Republicans have this short-term problem, I think is just, it's not anyone else's problem but theirs. And I actually don't trust the majority leader and the Republicans in the Senate, if he wins, to throw him out. I don't think that they will. I think it's up to the people of Alabama to stand up and say, this is not someone we want to represent us.
You think it might be an empty threat. Ned, I want you to get on in this, but can I also just play, because there are two other folks, it's not just in Washington, that are weighing in, and I think there's been an important signal or shift here. Conservative firebrands, Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, they've both been just started signaling that they are no longer standing by this guy so much longer. Listen to what they've said.
Did you know that before 1992, when a lot of this was going on, that Judge Moore was a Democrat?
For me, the judge has 24 hours. You must immediately and fully come up with a satisfactory explanation for your inconsistencies that I just showed. You must remove any doubt. If you can't do this, then Judge Moore needs to get out of this race.
Is the writing on the wall with that, Ned?
Well, you know, I think the thing that's a little interesting about especially Hannity, he's close to the White House. I'm just wondering if maybe the White House is signaling through Hannity what might be coming next. But there are a lot of inconsistencies. Roy Moore, as you know, he needs. There's some answers that need to be given. I do think it's kind of interesting, though, Kate, after, 30, 40 years in the public life, after all the Oppo research done against him, the timing of this is just interesting to me. That all to say, Roy Moore has to answer some questions, and right now there's a lot of inconsistencies. The amazing thing to me, Kate, I kind of agree with Mitch McConnell. I'd love for Jeff Sessions to do a write-in campaign. Then you get a good candidate, and two, I'd get a real attorney general, so I would be happy with that solution.
And there you go. And that's a whole other conversation that I do want to have. Then you get an attorney general who doesn't have to recuse himself from a Russia investigation. And what does that mean for Bob Mueller? Intriguing there, Ned Ryun. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We're going to leave it there for right now.